Good morning, everyone, and congratulations again, graduates and your families. Sir, from your earliest days, you have embodied what it means to truly see and honor the dignity in every human being. Growing up, you were witness to the founding of Special Olympics by your mother, Eunice Kennedy Shriver, and the devotion to public service embodied by your father, Robert Sargent Shriver. Experiences that profoundly shaped your perspective. You have said that both of your parents instilled in you an orientation to difference that saw it not as a liability or a weakness to be overcome, but rather a cause for celebration. Drawing on your family's powerful example and your own abiding faith, you have dedicated your life to championing human dignity as an educator, activist, author, and visionary leader. Having earned a bachelor's degree from Yale, a master's in religion and religious education from the Catholic University of America, and a doctorate in education from the University of Connecticut, you began your career as a teacher, spending 14 years in the classroom. Rooted in your commitment to holistic formation and inclusion, you became an avid proponent of education that develops the whole child. In co-founding the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, you pioneered a movement that would reshape classrooms worldwide. At the helm of Special Olympics, you have served as a tireless advocate for those with intellectual disabilities who are too often isolated and marginalized. Thanks to your efforts over the last 3 decades, the organization has grown into a global movement that serves more than 4 million athletes in more than 200 countries and territories around the world, with programming in sports, health, education, and inclusive leadership. Special Olympics changes lives, not just those of the athletes, but also those of their families, friends, and communities. Truly a peaceful revolution of inclusion. The Special Olympics Athlete Oath, which your mother coined and you have made famous, inspires us all. Let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt. Most recently, you have sought to ameliorate the political polarization in our country by bridging political divides and promoting respectful dialogue across differences. As co-founder of Unite and co-creator of the Dignity Index, you continue to inspire those around you to build bridges, recognizing the God-given dignity in all people. You remind us that we have a choice in every interaction. We can use our words to push people away, or we can use them to pull people together. As you say, it's not about changing what we believe, it's about changing how we treat each other. In celebration of your lifelong commitment to the most vulnerable among us, your servant leadership, and your steadfast faith, the University of Notre Dame rejoices to confer its highest honor, the Laetare Medal, on Timothy P. Shriver, Chevy Chase, Maryland. Congratulations, Tim.
Wow. Board Chair Viemeyer, Father Dowd, members of the Board of Directors, parents, graduates, you've already been treated to the most extraordinary list of speeches. I want to start by thanking Michelle Elshoff for her beautiful prayer. There's a lot of clergy in here. I hope they were listening, because we see the future of prayer maybe coming from an unlikely spot right here in the class of 2026. I also want to congratulate Martin Soros for his extraordinary speech, and your capacity, Martin, to remind us that in the cold and the ice, beautiful things arise, as long as we're present and open to the movement of the Spirit, as long as we're open, as he said, to our own fragile humanity. Quite extraordinary. Sister Petrini, I heard so many times this weekend that you are the first woman in your role. I hope it's okay, Father, for me to say, I hope many more follow. That's all I can say. We were worried for the last few days about the weather. I guess we didn't need to, although it's clear that it's now warm, and I'm almost the only thing standing between you and the celebration. And my wife, by the way, does not like to be sitting in the heat, so I will go as quickly as I can. But I do want to make a recommendation that for the next Laetare Medal, my sister Maria and my wife Linda are two great candidates, Father. So maybe you guys can give a wave. We'll share your resumes later. I am really extraordinarily deeply indebted to Notre Dame, to you, for this honor. But my debt to Notre Dame might be even bigger than you think. So let me explain. 75 years ago, some of you are old enough to remember that, my mom, Eunice Kennedy, she wasn't yet my mom, was summoned here to Notre Dame by its new president, Father Ted Hesburgh. My mom was struggling. She thought she might have a vocation to become a nun. But her dad, my future grandfather, wanted her to marry her boyfriend, a guy named Sergeant Shriver. He had asked for her hand in marriage, and my grandfather thought, well, I'll call Hesburgh. So he made an appeal to Hesburgh. He had known my mother and father for a number of years. He said, Father Ted, my daughter Eunice, she won't listen to me, but she will listen to you. Please talk to her. So Father Ted told my mother that she did indeed have a vocation, but her vocation was to marry my dad. And to serve the church in that role. Sister Petrini, maybe it was like your friend who went to the vocations training. So shortly after this talk with Father Ted, my mother, after Mass at St. Patrick's, took my father to the side altar and told him she would accept his offer for marriage. So for the many of you out here who believe that one way or another you owe your life to Notre Dame, believe me, I get it. This morning I want to thank the heroes whose love and guidance have led me to this day. My prayer is that I can be, in these few moments, a worthy channel of their grace. My heroes began coming to me in waves. When I graduated from college and became a high school teacher in New Haven, where I spent 14 years being tutored by the teenagers I was supposed to teach. I was supposed to teach them social studies. They tried to teach me how difficult it is to thrive in poverty. I was supposed to teach them how to be successful. They tried to teach me that success requires people who believe in you. And that became the calling of my life. One student of mine, Jenny, was 14 years old when I first met her. She heard every day, and she echoed this to me, I hear every day I'm a nobody. She couldn't imagine being a person who mattered. So I decided to pay her a visit at her home and meet with her mom and figure out what I could do. And she later told me, she said, that day you visited my house, you poured just a little self-worth into me. And that's all it took to change my life. Actually, as you all know, it was God who poured the self-worth into Jenny. I just saw it, and I did my best to honor it. And she did the same for me. She believed in me, at a time I didn't believe in myself. And I can never repay her for the goodness that her faith in me brought out in me. A few years later, I left New Haven. Linda and I moved to Washington to lead Special Olympics, which is nothing more than a global witness to the truth that every human being is a sacred creation with inherent dignity, made in the image and likeness of God, and should be treated that way. The precious occasions when we gather and we see this truth together are moments of lasting grace. Let me just tell you about one. In 2003, the Special Olympics World Games took place in Ireland. They were the first games where we invited athletes with the most severe disabilities to participate. And personally, there were a lot of folks, including me, who weren't sure how people would react to seeing those athletes. I wondered, were people going to show up? Was anyone going to care? Would they see the athletes and leave sad or somehow brokenhearted? And then I learned that the president of Ireland, Mary McAleese, she was going to attend the opening of this event, and she was going to sit next to me as my guest. By the time President McAleese arrived at the venue in Dublin, the hall was jammed. It was almost 2,000 people in the stands to watch our motor activities program. And the games were on. Credit the Irish for showing up, right? So the first athlete was Donal Page. He was from County Galway, and he was announced onto the stage to perform his grasp and release. Donal suffered from an illness just after birth. It left him unable to speak, unable to walk. He was wheeled onto the stage in his wheelchair and positioned near a table like this with a beanbag on it. His challenge, his competition was to lift the beanbag and move it from one side of the table to the other. The crowd was excited. A voice announced, "Start," and nothing happened. Donal tried to move his shoulder and his hand, and it wouldn't go. And the arena was silent for a full minute. Then Donal's hand started moving, just a little bit, toward the beanbag, and one fan in the back shouted, "Come on, lad, let's go, come on." And that sent a kind of shiver through the crowd. And then slowly, after a span of 5 minutes, Donal's hand finally landed on the bag. And a voice shouted in the back, "There you go, lad, now grab it, pick it up." And his father later said to me, "I was just hoping they would give him a bit of time. Donal only needs a bit of time." Over the next 5 minutes, Donal slowly lifted that bag, and we were standing, and then we were cheering, and then we were shouting, and then we were yelling, and then we were crying. And Donal moved the beanbag to the other side of the table and set it down and unleashed bedlam. Now, I know you all have been in sporting events where there was bedlam, but I promise you, you have never seen an athlete as great as Donal Page. There was joyous... I thought later, the madness in that hall, we were on the home field of the Fighting Irish, and on that field, all of us were fighting for one of us. There was no foe. There was no enemy. We were a mass of humanity rooting for humanity. And humanity won, because humanity in that moment was one. You see, my teachers never asked me for pity. They never asked me for condescension. They asked that I see their dignity. They want what you want, what I want. They want to matter. They want to be seen. So today I accept this medal, and I ask you to accept a challenge from them. Let's all wake up to the dignity, to the inherent worth in each of us. In every community, in every culture, in every country, all over the world. We can do this. Yes, there's obstacles. People will tell you the world is too broken. We're too separated to repair. We're too different to get along. It's too difficult. And it's true. We're facing depolarization today. I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that the times are tough. But nothing about polarization can't be overcome by treating each other with dignity. And we can change the way we treat each other no matter how far apart we've grown. We can honor each other's dignity and bring ourselves back together again. The power of treating each other with dignity is more than just a belief or a conviction. It's a practice. Thomas Merton, who lived not far from here, saw the radiant dignity inside of each of us. He wrote, "At the center of our being," he said, is a point of pure truth, a spark which is the pure glory of God in us. It is in everybody. And if we could see it, it would make all the darkness and cruelty of life vanish completely. And yes, darkness and cruelty will come. From my earliest memories when tragedies shook my family, my parents taught Maria and my brothers and me a spiritual practice. They taught us the prayers of the Rosary. We went to Our Lady. We hoped to experience Mary's great yes, which opened the way for God to enter the world. Over the years, I've continued to hold fast to those rosary beads. They're in my pocket right now, and I recommend them for all of you. Because we all have our own yes. And I try, however failingly, to say my yes too. To say yes as she did to the presence of God within, to say yes as she did to opening the way for God to enter the world. If that sounds a little mystical, it is. So, be a mystic. Be a mystic. I know you probably haven't heard that in these 4 years, but I'm leaving you with it. Allow grace to remove any obstacle that separates you from the presence of God within, so that grace can also remove any obstacle that separates you from the presence of God in others. Because in the eyes of God, as we've heard today, there are no least of these. There is no them and us. There is no less of God in any of us. The only difference is in our ability to say yes. This ability to say yes is the core spiritual movement now needed in the world, a movement you are each called to join, a movement to say yes to dignity as the standard for how we treat each other. In our families, in our schools, in our faith-based institutions, in our work, this is both an ancient call and the most urgent call of our times. In answering the call, you here at Notre Dame have an extraordinary advantage. You will walk out of here. I was watching the flag earlier. It's moved now, but you will walk out of here, I suspect, with the wind at your backs. What every team hopes for in a tight game. You will walk out of here with the advantage of having been schooled here on this campus, in this special place. And your university was blessed for this calling even before Father Soren baked the first brick to build Notre Dame. So as you leave the home field of the Fighting Irish to launch the next chapter of your lives, what would you fight for? What were you born to fight for? I pray you will fight to honor the inherent dignity in every human being and renew the face of the earth. Thank you, Notre Dame.
Thank you, Dr. Shriver, for that moving call to honor the inherent dignity of every person and for the way you have modeled that throughout your life and work. One more round of applause for Dr. Shriver.